welcome to the first match of the March Madness tournament series. Today, Monored Aggro will be facing Izzet Burn. We will be playing out the Izzet side while Yurtle will be on Monored Aggro. In game 1 we mulligan a creature light hand, only to mulligan again and end up with a 6-card hand that is still creature light but at least has some card draw. Our opponent leads off with a Goblin Arsonist and we draw a Talrand. Arsonist comes in for 1, down to 19 we go, and that's a Krankos command making 2 Goblin tokens. We pause the turn with Think Twice up, but we also have access to Vapor Snag should we want to use that. The opponent attacks us, we take 3 down to 16. That's a Foundry Street Denizen on the other side, and end of turn we'll draw a card with Think Twice. Here we have a lot of options available, but we pause the turn with a Flashback Think Twice available, as well as a Shock and a Vapor Snag. A Goblin Shortcutter will just be a 2-1, pumping the Foundry Street Denizen, and that's an attack for 5 and an end of turn Think Twice to draw another card. Last turn we decided not to use our removal yet, to try and save it until we have a Talrand in play to generate Drake tokens. So we play our Talrand and hope our opponent doesn't have a Shock. Instead it's a Goblin Rabblemaster, triggering the Denizen twice. We can block 1 token, but we will still take 8 damage, going from 11 down to 3. And this is the turn where we draw a Young Pyromancer and try and stabilize, both making tokens with a Talrand and Young Pyromancer whenever we play an instant or sorcery, and an Artful Dodge just to make the tokens, as well as a Shock taking out Goblin Rabblemaster will generate those tokens, and we can attack for 2 with Talrand and pause a turn with a Vapor Snag available that can also make additional tokens. A Goblin Shortcutter will make the Drake not able to block. Our opponent goes for an all-out attack, but we can Vapor Snag the Goblin Arsonist, which is the card we're most afraid of, because it can kill us together with a Shock. We take some time to figure out the blocks in case our opponent has a coordinated assault, but in the end we just block as if our opponent doesn't have it. He replays the Goblin Arsonist and passes a turn, and now we're in a good spot. That's an Artful Dodge on Young Pyromancer to make some more tokens. We attack with our Drakes to avoid making the Goblin Arsonist die, and a Krankos command to make even more tokens. Our opponent decides to attack with the Arsonist. We can block it with a Drake token, and the damage is redirected to our face. We're down to 2 life, and a Shock will be taking us out, even though we have a commanding board state. So Monored is up 1 game to 0. In the second game we have to mulligan a 5-land hand and have an acceptable second hand leading with a Guildgate. Our opponent does not have a turn 1 play, so we pass the turn with a Think Twice available. That's a Krankos command making 2 tokens and us drawing a card. And we still don't have a creature to play, so we'll pause the turn with a Flashback Think Twice available. An attack for 2 puts us down to 18 life, and that's another Krankos command, which will resolve. On our turn we decide to lead with a Kiln Fiend to use it as bait, so our Talrand has a higher chance of surviving. We block with our Kiln Fiend. Coordinated Assault will be Vapor Snagged away, but a Shock still takes out the Kiln Fiend. So we take 4 damage here, down to 14, but now the coast should be clear for a Talrand to survive, and that's exactly what happens. A Goblin Shortcutter will make him unable to block, so we take 3 down to 11, but now we can stabilize by making a bunch of Drake tokens, and a Krankos command will help with that as well. And then we make our Talrand unblockable, attack for 2, and pause the turn with Shock available. Goblin Bushwhacker, giving all creatures +1/+0 and haste, will not be enough as we can Shock one of the goblins and block with all our tokens. On our turn we decide to play Gutter Snipe first, so whenever we play an instant or sorcery we deal 2 damage to the opponent, and here an Artful Dodge will make some Drake tokens and deal some damage to the opponent. An attack for 4 puts the opponent at 9. Kranko's command will not be enough, as a Skullcrack and an attack with the Drake tokens will be more than enough to take out the opponent. So now it's 1 apiece, and the third game will decide the winner, and the winner will advance to the next round while the loser will be eliminated from the tournament. The third game starts off with a keep. We have 2 young pyromancers to try and survive the early game and a Kiln Fiend to try and win the game. That's a turn 1 Foundry Street Denizen from the opponent. We will play our first young pyromancer. An attack for 1, down to 19 we go, and a shock takes out the first young pyromancer, but here we can simply replay the second young pyromancer and a gate as well. The opponent plays a Goblin Rabblemaster, which will pump the Foundry Street Denizen twice, so we take 4 damage down to 15, but now we can start generating some elemental tokens with the young pyromancer. So we decide to cast a Vapor Snag on the Goblin Rabblemaster, generating a elemental token, and an attack for 2 puts the opponent down to 17. Our opponent replays the Rabblemaster and decides to attack with everyone. We block the Foundry Street Denizen, but a coordinated assault will make it survive combat. On our turn we can finally start generating elemental tokens by playing our Artful Dodge twice. We make the Kiln Fiend and the young pyromancer unblockable, and a Skullcrack makes our Kiln Fiend have 10 power, so an attack puts the opponent down to 2 life, and our opponent plays a Goblin Shortcutter, makes 1 elemental not able to block. He attacks with everyone except for the Rabblemaster. We decide to block the Foundry Street Denizen so we don't die to a Trumpet Blast, but we only take 3 damage, and that's a second Goblin Rabblemaster to stay on defense, but we top deck another Artful Dodge to make Kiln Fiend unblockable and attack for the win. So Izzet Burn wins the match 2 games to 1 and will advance to the next round, where it will be facing the winner of Grixis Control versus Esper Artifact. I wanna thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.